Hello, and welcome back for the activity, the assignment for class this week for genetically modified organisms. What I have for you now, and I'm having a lot of fun creating these new topics, new prompts to look at discussion. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this as well. And so the topic I got for you today is should probiotic organisms be enhanced through through genetic modification. And so basically what we need to do is start defining some of the terms that we've got. And we've talked about some of these before within the course. But basically probiotic organisms are going to be microorganisms that have some benefits for humans that we'll talk about before. And so in general, we're talking about organisms that are either going to be bacteria, and we got a photograph of a bacteria over here, or a fungi over here, a nice little mushroom over here. But generally, when we actually think about bacteria and fungi, especially as their interactions, we're generally thinking about it, maybe in a laboratory setting, maybe a clinical diagnostic setting over here, or maybe our yeast here is a good example of a fungus that we've been using for human food for a number of years. Which kind of leads into the next point. Humans have been using these microorganisms for thousands of years of food production. And so this is just a slide showing some examples of food production. Basically, we're looking at bacteria and certain types of fungi that kind of feed on the food and do the process of fermentation. And so you see things like a beer or a wine. You can also see distinct flavors of cheese. I didn't put pickles on this, but I could have put pickles as a fermentation product. Yogurts, certain types of yogurts still have active products, and those would be probiotics that we'll talk about. Vinegar over here, another example of an organism or a food produced by these microorganisms. And so they have benefits associated with their properties. And so the flavors in cheeses, the flavors in yogurts, the flavors in really in the different types of beers and wines, and all of this is dependent upon the sugars that are put in, so the products that these microorganisms are going to be feeding upon. But a lot of the characteristics are dependent upon the specific yeast or the specific fungus or the specific bacteria that's used to culture these products, to ferment these products into the kind of food source that we're going to be consuming. Now, some of these microorganisms are pathogenic, and again, some are going to be beneficial, some are going to be disease-causing, and potentially harmful to humans. And so I've got on this like injectable penicillin that you can get, if you've got large farm animals to treat, bacterial infection. Over here, we've got an antifungal foot cream. So if you got like athlete's foot, you can see the little fungus growing on along there. You put this on and kind of kill it off. And so, microorganisms can be beneficial. Microorganisms could also be potentially harmful to humans. And so if we take a look at this, and again, kind of the disturbing part of science is the more you learn about things, the more you learn about things, the more you know about things. And so in our body and on our body, is going to be a balance of what I'm defining here as good bacteria. We can go into a whole lot more detail, but it's not important for what we're doing here. But a balance of good bacteria and bad bacteria. Your good bacteria are going to be doing a whole variety of things that are beneficial for you. They're competing against the bad bacteria, and so using up resources to hopefully prevent bad bacteria from getting established and causing infection and causing a disease. But they're also going to be doing a whole lot of other things that are going to be very beneficial for ourselves. There are going to be some bacteria that are helping in our immune system. There are going to be some bacteria that are helping to control inflammation. Within our digestive system, there are a whole host of bacteria. They're going to be present. They're going to be helping to digest our food. Sometimes bacteria are going to be producing vitamins for us that we can then absorb within our intestines. And in some cases, we've got bacteria that are necessary within our bodies to be able to break down and absorb medications that we're bringing in. And so good benefits associated with these good bacteria. But there are also going to be bad bacteria. Bad bacteria are going to be bacteria that have the potential to cause disease. So they're going to be referred to as pathogenic. And so basically what happens is if you have a bacterial infection, we've upset that balance. And so the bad bacteria are now kind of out competing our good bacteria. They've been able to take over, they're flourishing, and they're causing a disease process to occur. And so because of that, they need to be taken care of. They need to be kind of killed off in some way, or you're going to be really, really sick and really, really unhappy. And so in many cases, if you've got a bad bacterial infection, you're going to go to the doctor, they're going to identify it as a bacteria as opposed to a virus, and they're going to treat you probably with an antibiotic. And antibiotics are going to be really good for killing off bad bacteria. But they're also going to be really good at killing off potentially good bacteria. And so oftentimes when people are taking antibiotics, they're going to get kind of an upset stomach and some intestinal issues because in the process of killing their bad bacteria, they've also kind of killed off some of their good bacteria. And so they may have, some, intestinal symptoms associated with it, not from the disease that they have, but from the treatment to kill off those bad bacteria. And so oftentimes you'll hear us like, well, yeah, if you get an upset stomach or diarrhea when you're taking antibiotics, what you need to do is take probiotics, because probiotics are going to provide you with living good bacteria or yeast as a supplement. Again, here's an example, Activia, billions of live and active probiotic, which basically means, hey, we got these really good bacteria and yeast, bacteria and or yeast. They're going to be present that we are going to have you ingest, and it is going to be supporting gut health. And it's got a little asterisk here. We'll talk about what that little asterisk means in a couple, or actually on the next slide. But basically, this idea that you can supplement and maybe reestablish the good bacteria and yeast within your body by, kind of reseeding it or by taking these probiotics, as it says, to support good gut health. Now, the FDA, who has got a lot of attention over the last year, but the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, basically kind of looks at foods and drugs and tries to make sure that they're going to be healthy and not causing problems and diseases and, whatever. I'm trying to think of another problem, but basically, controlling disease, making sure your food products, your drug products are not going to cause more harm than they do. And so we've heard, especially over the last couple months, about FDA approval of new vaccinations or new medications for treating COVID. So there's a stringent requirement for treatment of conditions, if it's a drug, if it's a medication. And so if the FDA is looking at these probiotics as a drug, they're going to be treating it as a drug. And a drug is intended to cure, treat, or prevent a disease. And if we make these claims with a probiotic that we're going to be treating a disease or preventing a disease, then we have to go through this higher stringency process. We've got to do the clinical trials. We've got to do all of the experiments that are necessary to prove the purity, to prove the effectiveness of our drug, or of our bio product, or a probiotic in this case. And it's going to be referred to as a live biotherapeutic product, an LBP, which is a fancy way of saying probiotic. It's a living organism that potentially has some benefits associated with it. Now, if we take a look at this currently, or at the beginning of 2021, there are no current probiotics that have been approved as a drug. And so because of it, your probiotic can't say, take this and it's going to cure Alzheimer's, or take this and it's going to cure diabetes, or it's going to cure some other thing. They can't get away with that. So they're going to make kind of broad statements of supporting gut health. I'm not quite sure what that means. I'd like to have a healthy gut. But what does it mean? Because the Food and Drug Administration is going to be regulating probiotics as a food or a dietary supplement as opposed to a medication. And so for the Food and Drug Administration, you don't have to prove effectiveness. You really even don't have to prove safety. You just have to make this recommendation that, it's comparable to things that are out there. It's relatively safe, but we don't have to test it. We're confident it's safe, so we're going to tell you it's safe. And so you can make claims about how the product is affecting the body, promoting good health, promoting attention, for good brain health. Things like that, but you can't make specific health claims. take this to prevent this disease, or take this to cure that disease. You can't make those specific claims if it's going to be a food or a dietary supplement. Now, taking a look at this, and this is exciting. This is about a year and a half old now at this point. The first genetically modified probiotic is now for sale. And it's designed to prevent hangovers. And because hangovers aren't a medical disease that has to be treated, they can make that claim. It's regulated as a food and not a drug, so it hasn't been shown to be effective through clinical trials. But basically what they did is they genetically modified bacteria, live bacteria, because it's a probiotic, living organisms within it, and they're going to be able to break down a byproduct of alcohol. And that acetaldehyde is a byproduct of alcohol, and it is thought to be what contributes to a hangover headache. If a person imbibes in a little too much alcohol, this byproduct kind of builds up and causes some kind of uncomfortable symptoms associated with it. And so your idea is that if you take these bacteria ahead of time, they're genetically modified to be able to break down this. So if you've got these bacteria within your gut at the time you're drinking the alcohol, as this acetaldehyde starts to build up, the bacteria are going to break it down, and so it's not going to accumulate and contribute to the headache. What's interesting is that this company formed in 2016, and they had their first product available and had it out in market in 2019. Basically, less than 3 years. Unheard of in terms of these genetic startup companies. But the approach they're taking is that as a probiotic, they don't have to do clinical trials. As a probiotic, they don't have to prove effectiveness. They are just providing some type of supplement. And so because of this is kind of opening up some areas that we need to be thinking about. Are there other requirements that we need to be thinking about for some of these foods and drugs that are kind of more potentially drug than food? But at this point, these are the regulations that are in place. And so we've got this technology that is available to us, but maybe there are other things we could be doing with it. And so some potential uses, future uses of GMO, genetically modified probiotics. Individuals with lactose intolerance basically stop making the enzyme to break down the sugar lactose in milk. And so maybe they need to have a probiotic that, instead of taking a lactase enzyme, this enzyme supplement over here that provides the enzyme to break it down so it doesn't give you the gut problems that are associated with lactose intolerance. Maybe we could do that with probiotics. There are a lot of vitamin deficiencies around the world. It's estimated that we've got like 1 billion people that, and I've got that I think on the next slide, that have a vitamin D deficiency. Maybe instead of taking multivitamins, and we've got these huge numbers of vitamin deficient patients and individuals, even though we have multivitamins available, even taking a look at the United States and Europe, they have a lack of vitamins within their health, and they have an inability to synthesize certain vitamins within their body. Maybe instead of taking a multivitamin, we could take a probiotic, and that probiotic can be producing the vitamin for us within our bodies themselves. If we take a look at amino acids, our bodies need 20 amino acids, and we're not going to get into the science behind it. But of those 20 amino acids we need to build the proteins within our body, 9 of those have to come from our diet because we're not able to synthesize them on our own. We can't build them from scratch within our bodies. So maybe instead of taking protein powder, we could be taking a probiotic, which has a bacterial cell which is producing the essential amino acids that we need. And again, these are supplements, and so they don't have to be proven effective. But we take a look at it. We got like Nature's Way, Nature Made, and Nature's Path. So they all got nature in it, so it must be good at some level. But again, for students in marketing, Nature's Way, promote good ideas by getting a company name that promotes good feelings, as opposed to GMO product that was created in a laboratory and now we're going to give it to you. But basically, get back on topic. What are we thinking about with these probiotics and the ability to modify them at a level that we've never thought of before? And so what I've got you now is the essay. So should probiotic organisms be enhanced through genetic modification? And so the assignment is write a short essay of 500 to 750 words, roughly 2 to 3 pages. Support your ideas, again, as we've talked about, but based on this idea. And I'm giving you vitamin D as an example. There are a lot of other vitamin deficiencies, a lot of other diseases associated with malnutrition. Should we be thinking about these probiotics for that? And so approximately 1 billion people worldwide, and these are numbers that were published in 2021 off of a study in 2019. So 1 billion people worldwide are vitamin D deficient, with some populations at higher risk. And so vitamin D is converted into vitamin D by sunlight on the skin. So individuals that are not getting enough skin, or individuals that have, like a darker skin color normally, are often going to have difficulties producing enough vitamin D. And so we've got these vitamin D deficiencies, even though we've got supplements that are available. And it's even occurring in areas where we have these supplements. It's estimated that about 40% of the population in the United States and in Europe are vitamin D deficient. And so should we be looking at enhancing these probiotic organisms in order to be able to improve overall health? Even if we're not doing it as a drug, should this be something that we're doing out there to improve it? So the questions I've got for you, and again, these are prompts. You don't have to use any or all of these, but if you're struggling to get started, here's some ideas to help you think about this topic. Should the Food and Drug Administration continue to treat genetically modified probiotics, genetically modified bacteria, genetically modified fungi as a food or dietary supplement without requirements for clinical trials or some variation of clinical trials to show safety and effectiveness? Should there be restrictions on what type of supplements can be provided by these genetically modified organisms? Does it matter if these probiotics supplement dietary intake, or if they're doing other things, providing, maybe a weightlifter, providing other things that they need for that, which leads into the next one. Athletes and bodybuilders use supplements all the time to promote muscle formation. Should these probiotics be developed that go beyond the currently available supplements? Right now, you take protein supplements, it's, amino acids and a bunch of other basic raw materials that are needed for building your muscles. But maybe, we modify these probiotics, modify these organisms, and instead of just providing raw materials, we're providing, maybe growth factors. We're providing other things that are going to be directly stimulating muscle growth. So, not steroids per se, but, potentially other things that would be promoting muscle growth. And even, should probiotics be developed to provide a steady source of daily medication in a person's body? Patients with insulin, patients with diabetes, type 1 diabetes, are going to be taking insulin on a regular basis to regulate their sugar levels within their blood. Now, there's some problems that, you're taking it into your body, into your digestive system, where if you take insulin, you're generally injecting it in and distributing it through the body that way. So it's not a step that we could start tomorrow, but maybe there are some medications that we are currently taking orally that we could take as a probiotic and, be able to, maintain health in a more natural way, or at least a different way than taking a lot of prescription medication. So again, take this as a question: should probiotic organisms be enhanced through genetic modification? And think about it kind of from your own personal viewpoint. Think about it from the perspective of some of the things we've covered in the class so far. And as you write it, make sure that you support your statements with evidence. So you back up the points you make with not "I feel this" or "I think that," but "I feel this because," and then provide an explanation. Those are the types of things I'm going to be looking for. So thank you. Hopefully you enjoy this assignment. I think it's kind of novel, and I'm looking forward to seeing your responses to that. Thank you, and have a great week.